Hi, this is Kylie with Fim and Flow. I hope everyone's having a great day. So, I have a podcast and all about this stuff. So, this is my favorite topic, talking about the mysteries of the universe, why we are here, and the true nature of our reality. Today, the topic is covering a bird's eye view, bird's eye perspective of this reality, the universe, and what's going on here. So, to start it off, the solid physical doesn't exist until we perceive it. Earth is a quantum based field generated by our thoughts and our emotions. And I talk about this in other podcasts. I talk about the different dimensions, and I'll get into that later on as well. But the fourth dimension is a non physical realm of archetypes, myths, and the collective mind. I talk about how it's a veil or a canopy of energy that lays over the third, second, and first dimensions that are all physical. And it essentially sets the vibe for the physical experience. Our individual thoughts amalgamate and make up the collective mind that I just mentioned is part of the fourth dimension. And the collective mind is what sets the vibe of the fourth dimension. Then our individual emotions create our individual reality because reality is not objective, it's observer dependent. And I talk about it in other podcasts. I talk about how this earth experience has been hijacked by this group of dark elite. They've done this by essentially hijacking the fourth dimension, which is the archetypes, myths, and the collective mind, like I just said. So if you hijack this, you can essentially set the whole vibe of the experience. So I just said how the fourth dimension, the collective mind, that everyone's individual thoughts here, they all come together and make up this collective mind of the fourth dimension. So I've talked about on my TikTok, and I believe I've talked about this on other episodes. I may not have actually. But there's a thing called thought forms. And thought forms is how this global elite group controls and manipulates us. So, first off, they know humanity's true divinity and our true power, and they want to hide that so they control us. They know how this energy works. They know about the fourth dimension in the collective mind and how it controls the vibe of the experience. They don't have the power to control the experience like that. I'll get into why later, and I've mentioned it on other episodes if you're a weekly listener. They know they can't control it. They have to manipulate us to control it because we're the ones with the true divinity and connection to God and connection to source energy. So they use all of this programming through mainstream media, the news, TV, movies, music, everything under that umbrella of mainstream media. So they use this to put out thought forms. In these thought forms, we watch or listen, and this imprints into our brain, into our mind. And we get that in our mind, and our thoughts are around those thought forms. And when the collective is all thinking that, that goes up and collects and makes up that fourth dimensional canopy of energy. So that is setting the vibe of the whole experience. So that's how they really manipulate and control us via the fourth dimension. There's other ways they work to control and manipulate us, but that is the main one. So, saying how mainstream media works to control and manipulate us and program us and put thought forms in our head so we manifest or create that into reality, we need to be super careful at what we're consuming, what thoughts we're having, and what emotions we're putting out. Because, like I just said, our thoughts go up into the fourth dimension where they end up making up the collective mind, and that sets the vibe of this whole experience. But then our individual emotions create our own reality within this whole physical experience we're in. So, back to this Earth experience being a quantum based experience. That means, if, for example, if we aren't looking at our house or our back is turned to it, it doesn't actually exist behind us. The solid physical world is not actually real, it's all an illusion, and it's all derived because we're living in this quantum based experience. But technically, everything is an illusion. What's truly real is God, source energy, pure consciousness. And then outside of that, everything's technically an illusion. Everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. And like I mentioned, we call this vast space of energy, of nothingness, the quantum field. In the quantum field, there are tiny strings of energy vibrating at different frequencies. This is what the quantum field is made up of and consists of. We operate as individuals as a holy trinity. We have our body, which is the vessel we operate in and connect in the physical with. We have our soul or our spirit, which is the information and knowledge we have gathered through all of our different experiences. And then we have our consciousness or our mind, which is our perception, our perspective, and our personality. The Holy Trinity can be viewed as a triangle with 2 points on the bottom and 1 point on the top. And the 2 base points are body and soul, and the top point is consciousness. And you can also view consciousness as the all-seeing eye. And this is hidden esoteric knowledge, and it goes much deeper than I'm talking about here. This is like base level stuff. Our consciousness comes from God, source energy, pure consciousness, the great mystery. We have all these amazing words for it because it's so indescribable. And God energy, being pure consciousness, is the all-seeing eye, but not in a judgmental, physical man way that religion tries to push. In a way, we are God, source energy, experiencing itself. We are consciousness that comes from pure consciousness, which is God, and we are fractals of God, of source energy. And what our individual consciousness experiences goes back to God, pure source energy, or pure consciousness. This concept is why some people can tap into what we call the Akashic records and retrieve information about different souls. For example, a reader can tap into the Akashic records and receive information about what someone's specific soul mission here is on Earth. The Akashic records is just a spiritual term for a quantum information bank or an information storage area. It's just energy. Like I mentioned before, our soul is our own personal information bank or record and stores all of our information and knowledge through eternity. Our soul is everlasting and is eternal. And you can certainly be what we call an old soul and have vast amounts of experiences and knowledge. In other experiences, tapping into this soul information bank and understanding all of the lessons you've learned through eternity and having access to all that knowledge and that true connection to God or source energy. In other experiences, that comes intuitively. It is natural as it is for us to move our hand. But in this earth experience, you will probably have to do different things to purposely tap into your soul record and pull that experience and knowledge because the dark global elite use the fourth dimension programming to cut us off from that connection. And they want to cut off that connection to keep us under control. Because think of all the knowledge we have through eternity. We have so much knowledge and wisdom that outside of this experience we use and it just comes natural. But in this earth experience, it's cut off and we don't remember previous experiences or the universe or any of that. We're truly cut off from that. So definitely set the intention to tap into that knowledge because you are divine and an eternal being. So think of all the knowledge and experience you have. We really want to work and put our intention on to tapping into this wisdom and knowledge. And our consciousness is also eternal. At the beginning, I said the solid physical world doesn't exist without us perceiving it. It's our consciousness that perceives and turns pure energy into the physical. And I already mentioned how our consciousness comes from God, a pure source energy, pure consciousness. And God is light, which is made up of photons. And God is consciousness, pure consciousness. And truly the only thing that isn't an illusion. It's pure energy that everything is made out of. And if you recall other podcast episodes where I talked about the different dimensions, the eighth dimension is God, the divine mind, pure consciousness, and light. And the whole universe is made up of propagated light. And I've also talked about how energy, pure light, God, source energy, it goes through the different dimensions to create our physical world. So now I'll touch on high level how it does that. I don't listen to everything in the Bible because I think a lot of it has been altered and I don't trust it all. But you can go back and see certain parts of the Bible that when you read it from a different perspective, maybe a more enlightened point of view, you do see it in a different light. So the Bible says, in the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was God. So, like I mentioned, the eighth dimension is God, pure source energy. And then you step down into the seventh dimension, and the seventh dimension is sound vibrations. So, light comes down from the eighth dimension, where it's pure light, where it's all vibrating at the same frequency. Well, so actually, it's technically vibrating at 9 different frequencies all at once. And these 9 different frequencies are the Safiego frequencies. So I won't read all of the 9 different frequencies here. You could search it online, but the hertz frequency range from these 9 frequencies starts at 174 hertz and goes to 963 hertz. And on the basis of these 9 different frequency codes, the frequencies can be reduced to the cross sums 3, 6, and 9. And these 9 frequencies form a very harmonious and melodious spectrum that has been shown to have an impact on well being. But this does not even begin to cover the importance of the 9 Safiego frequencies. And there's a quote by Nikola Tesla that says, "If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the key to the universe." Like I mentioned, this is just a bird's eye view of this knowledge, and all of these topics, you could dive way, way deeper into them. But just think how cool that is, that the eighth dimension, where light, where God, where source energy is, the 9 Safiego frequencies are all going at once, creating this super harmonious spectrum of sound. It's really, really beautiful. But back to the seventh dimension. So, pure God energy comes from the eighth dimension, like I just mentioned. And in the seventh dimension, it is translated or transformed into different vibrations that create different sounds. And sounds are just energy at different frequencies. And these sound frequencies go into the sixth dimension where they create geometrical forms or sacred geometry. While no actual physical geometric shapes are formed in the sixth dimension, the frequencies just transform into the frequencies that would create the sacred geometrical shapes. You can think about it as the cymatics of the sixth dimension. It's vibrating in the frequencies that create form, but then to create the form, you have to step down into the physical dimensions, which is 1 through 3. So then the energy of the 6th dimension steps down into the 5th dimension, where it sets the base frequency as 528 hertz, which is love and the miracle frequency. This frequency creates life, and this is love, bliss, and compassion. Then this energy from the 5th dimension then steps down through the 4th dimensional veil into the 3rd dimension, which is physical. Dimensions 1 through 3 are physical, and the 4th dimensional veil I mentioned is the non-physical canopy that overlays the physical dimensions. And like I talked about at the beginning, the 4th dimension is the dimension of myths, archetypes, and the collective mind. And I've mentioned this in other podcast episodes, but you can view physical dimensions 1 through 3 as fairy tale land that operate from whatever is programmed into the 4th dimensional veil. And I already mentioned this, but I like this concept and it's easy to explain. The 4th dimension sets the vibe of the physical dimensions. And I keep saying I mentioned this in other episodes because I have a handful of different episodes and I'll mention bits and pieces in different ones, but I'm trying to summarize the big picture in this one to really mesh it all together and give a bigger picture perspective. So in another episode, I talk about how the earth is just one of many physical experiences we can go into. But the 4th dimension of Earth was hijacked by the dark global elite, and they run their control programs in the 4th dimension. One way to instantly be happier here is to wake up to the fact of this so you can stop letting 4th dimensional hidden influences control or have an impact on you. Also know that this Earth experience is the only place hijacked, and it's way less dramatic than it seems. Well, I'm going to talk about this in the next episode. So, up close, when you're experiencing it, it's actually quite dramatic and really quite dark. That's for my next episode, though. I'll get into more specifics. But when you zoom out, like I'm talking about here on this bigger picture perspective, it is less dramatic than it seems. And by that, I mean there's no evil or dark equivalent to God. God, light, source energy. That's what is actually true. Like, for example, this whole Satan archetype is a lie for fear and control. There's definitely a Luciferian agenda, but the only place it impacts is Earth. Like, the only evil is here, and all what we consider demons, they're all here. Like, yes, they're using the 4th dimension, which is non-physical, to put all of these archetypes in our head and control us by all of these different fear tactics. But outside of this, like I mentioned, there's no big evil equivalent to God. So in that way, I think it's a lot less dramatic than it seems. Like the war between good and evil and the spiritual war, it's happening here. There's not some bigger thing going on, if that makes sense. And when you look at it from this Earth experience perspective, the light is definitely winning and the light has already won. It's just all playing out. And there's a lot of crazy stuff coming out right now, and you don't even see it all. The news will not talk about all of the stuff that's being unveiled, but I think a good place to see is all the stuff happening on TikTok, depending what your algorithm is. But it might seem the world is completely falling apart because all of this darkness is being unveiled. And all this stuff you may have not realized is such a big part of this world or the government. It might sound scary when you first hear it, but it's so good that all of this is coming to light. So I've talked about this next part in a different podcast episode, but like I said, this is a big picture summary. So I do think it started off innocently enough with these beings that now make up the dark global elite. They did an experiment to see what would happen if they disconnected from source energy, and one of those beings is known as Lucifer. And this is also where the term fallen angel comes from. Because when you're connected to God energy or source and the light, that's archetypally known as an angel, or that's how we think about it here. And then when you disconnect, that would lead you to being a fallen angel. And how I mentioned that the fourth dimension of any physical experience, and like I mentioned, there's a lot of them, Earth is just one. So that fourth dimension is the vibe setter, sets the whole vibe of the experience, and there's archetypes, myths, and the collective mind. So angels and fallen angels are really just an archetypal idea of this energy that we're playing out. We personify it and put names on it. So the idea of angel and fallen angel are essentially archetypes of this experience. So we get our energy and sustain ourselves from our connection to source energy or God. And we also need to have a strong connection through all of the dimensions so we pull in the full source energy correctly. And on Earth, the dark elite do a lot of things to cut us off from the dimensional energies, and this keeps us from truth, prevents us from understanding our true connection to God, that God is truly within us and that's how we connect. And it disconnects us from understanding and remembering our true divinity and how we have all of these other experiences we live through eternity in. And once we break free from this control, the physical experiences will be incredible and beyond our wildest dreams. We will be fully vibing with God, source energy once again. And a lot of people here on Earth right now actually are living simultaneous lives in other places, but most people don't remember it. I mean, think of it though. If you are living a simultaneous life in these experiences I talk about that fully resonate with dimensions 5 through 9, that are completely bliss in what we archetypally call them heaven, if we remembered that and then had to come live a life here, it would feel really drastically different. We might be really sad and depressed, honestly. But we choose to come here on Earth. We choose to come to Earth for a reason and a purpose, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But back to these fallen angels. So the fallen angels, or the beings that disconnected from source, no longer could sustain themselves, so they started using humans on Earth to gather energy from. They harvest humanity's energy and use the fourth dimension to control and manipulate us to play out their agendas. And these agendas are all around just keeping humanity under control. They can't manifest or create their own reality like we can since they aren't connected to source energy. In these beings, the fallen angels, they used to be powerful and divine when connected to source energy, just like our true nature. And they remember this truth. They remember how to manipulate energy and remember all of this divine esoteric knowledge and how reality really works. Well, after disconnecting, they didn't automatically remember all of this divine knowledge. I won't get into that part, but they figured it out and now they make sure to keep this as hidden knowledge and they pass this down. And they use this knowledge, but since they are no longer connected to the light or source energy, they use this knowledge for dark and for control. They use this knowledge to control and manipulate via the fourth dimension, like I mentioned, and they hide the truth from us because they know once we have the truth and remember our true divinity, it's over for them. And this is what is playing out now. We're having this great awakening where people are tapping into higher dimensional energies. They're remembering truth. They're remembering how to work with energy. They're remembering all this great stuff. And this is leading to the downfall of the global elite. They're no longer going to be able to control us. And the global elite literally cannot sustain themselves or do anything without our energy. They can't create and manifest reality like we can. This whole concept is also why I talk about how there's duality on Earth. What happened with the fallen angels just energetically, that creates duality. Because, like I mentioned, everything is just energy, frequency, and vibration. And once Earth and humanity starts to resonate with the fifth dimension, which, like I mentioned, is love, the miracle frequency, and vibrates at 528 hertz, the fallen angels or these beings of the dark elite, they won't be able to survive or continue to be in the physical at that frequency. And this is the concept behind the 5D Earth. There will be a 3D Earth for a while, but eventually everyone, all of humanity, will raise their frequency to be able to shift into resonance with the fifth dimension. And this is the 5D Earth. And at this point, the fallen angels or the dark elite soul will be recycled and their consciousness will go back to source. Because this is just a principle of energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transmuted. But let's go back to the other experiences. So forget what you know about life on Earth because truth has been hidden and we've been lied to a lot. The experiences that resonate with the dimensions 5 through 9, they're total freedom, pure bliss, and so much fun. And like I mentioned, they're archetypally what we call heaven. And in these experiences, we get to choose our body or our avatar. In the experiences that fully resonate with 5 through 9D, our bodies don't age and everyone looks at their prime, like around age 30 or your late 20s, whatever you consider your prime. And we don't have to maintain anything, workout or diet. Everyone is also perfectly symmetrical looking. When you truly resonate and feel God and that amazing feeling in your heart, and you know that is source energy, and you resonate with that, it just doesn't make any sense that out of that magnificent, pure, amazing, unexplainable energy, that this earth experience is what we're living out of that amazing God energy, if that makes sense. This is not it. This is not how it's supposed to be at all. And it also just does not make any sense how we are born here into this body that we can't control and have no say over, that we think about. And then if you think about it, it's just so weird that we come from this amazing God source energy and we're born here into this vessel that we don't have control over. And a lot of people look at others and might feel bad about themselves, and we might not feel the most confident in our body. And it's interesting how we are naturally drawn to symmetry and beauty, and that resonates with us. So it definitely makes sense that what we're experiencing in this earth experience is not what is natural to us. I really just think what's natural to us and what comes with this true divinity when we're totally connected and truly our birthright is being whatever you want to be, looking however you want to look, having that symmetry, having that beauty. That's what we're drawn to naturally. That is what makes sense to me. And then if you look at the circumstances of the global dark elite cutting us off from this higher dimensional energy, like I said, when we're totally vibing and resonating with this higher dimensional energy, it's like heaven and bliss, and we are perfect and we're happy with how we look and just pure vibes, pure vibes. But how convenient that when we're cut off from this energy that we don't feel our best. We're not vibing with what's natural to us. This is completely a profit center. Look at capitalism here. Like, if we naturally resonate and we're naturally drawn to symmetry and beauty, I mean, hello, profit opportunity for this dark elite group to just pick and make money off of all of these insecurities. I used to question and wonder if people felt this way because we're constantly being shoved ads of models and people who are super thin or symmetrical or beautiful. And I used to wonder, okay, is this innately in us? Or have we just been fed this since we were little kids and that's why we're resonating with this specific look? But now I see that we resonate with that and we naturally like symmetry and beauty because that is our true nature. That's what we're truly used to. And this earth experience is not a natural one for us. But back to these other experiences. So you can choose to have the same body or avatar in these different experiences or have the same one. It's literally total freedom, whatever you want. And I mentioned this in another episode, but in these experiences, the ones that fully resonate with 5 through 9D and our pure bliss, this is where we build our lives and where we live for eternity. And you can bounce around to different experiences as you choose. You literally build your dream life and have no constraints. And everyone just lives from a place of love because, like I mentioned, the base frequency, once you are fully resonating with the fifth dimension, is 528 hertz. And that's the miracle frequency, love frequency, and the frequency that creates life. And another thing that is natural and our birthright is we create our own physical realities and lives. We are truly divine creator beings. We are fractals of God, fractals of source energy, and how I mentioned the dimensional structure works to create all of this. That's also the structure we use on an individual level as we create our own reality. And I mentioned this in the beginning, but reality is not objective, it's observer dependent. And it's really time to truly wake up to this truth and learn how to harness our true divinity and intentionally start working to create our reality. And I hinted that I'll get to this, but if you live here on earth right now, it's for a purpose. You chose to be here, and you chose to be here when the dimensional shift was happening. This dimensional shift that takes the dark global elite out of power forever and causes Earth to be a blissful, free experience that resonates with the fifth through ninth dimension. And you chose to be here and help bring Christ consciousness back to Earth. And whether you know it or not, a lot of beings wanted to be here at this time, but you had the experience and the knowledge needed to help. So truly wake up to this, realize this, set intentions around this. Truly set intentions to wake up to your true divinity. Realize that you have so many gifts and you have gifts that you probably aren't even aware of or haven't experienced. So, like I mentioned, set the intention to remember your true divinity. Stop thinking you are small or that your life has no meaning. Use your voice and radiate love and never be a victim. Be a hero. This is fairy tale land and you create your reality. I mentioned this already, but currently in this earth experience, we create our reality based on the frequency of the emotion we radiate. And there's a base reality set up by the fourth dimensional veil. And then within that reality experience, or fairy tale land as I call it, you create your own personal reality. And I've mentioned this before, but this whole concept is just how there can be chaos going on in the world, but your mindset and your perspective that you're choosing to have, that's all based on the emotions you're having and the emotions you're radiating. Even with chaos going on around you, you could make your own reality heaven or hell. And our bodies are electromagnetic and we have a torrential flow of energy around us. Each emotion has a unique frequency, and when we radiate that emotional frequency, we send that out into the quantum where, like I mentioned, there's tiny strings of energy and they're all vibrating, and the emotional frequency attaches to the string of energy that's vibrating, and the string changes and matches the frequency of that emotion. It changes into a particle of that same vibration, and then it pulls back into our reality with our torrential flow of energy. So, truly, send your body love. It's the electromagnetic vessel that is allowing your consciousness to create in this physical experience. And yes, like I said, this physical experience is technically an illusion. And technically, everything outside of pure source energy is an illusion. But all the experiences I mentioned that are bliss and archetypally what we call heaven, they are literally as real as this life now, but they're pure bliss and they're pure freedom. Just think about your wildest dreams and what you see on social media, and you think, wow, that looks like an absolute dream life. Literally, whatever your biggest, wildest dreams are, that's what you are going to be living out for eternity. It's quite amazing. So, in experiences that fully resonate with the fifth or ninth dimensional energy, these experiences, like I mentioned, they are where we build our eternal lives. We can instantly manifest. There's no need for money. Here, money is called currency, and it was set up to control us. They hid from us the truth that we can create purely from our own energy. The dark global elite control reality with the ultimate secret, and that's alchemy. And that's truly the biggest hidden secret and a huge, huge piece of our true divinity. That is what is natural to us outside of this. We don't remember this. But the biggest secret and the biggest thing is just being an energy alchemist. And that's how we instantly manifest things in these other experiences. We just purely create and alchemize from pure energy. Just know you are an energy alchemist. You may not remember that right now, but you are. You are magic. You are seriously so magical. Our physical worlds and experiences are an illusion, and they don't exist without our consciousness perceiving the energy. Nothing exists without consciousness perceiving it. And when we come back into resonance with the fifth or ninth dimensions and remember our divinity, we simply use our consciousness to perceive the reality we wish. We're using our consciousness to alchemize the energy into what we wish to perceive. That's how we are truly magic. And in these 5 through 9 resonating experiences, you just think it and it's there. You instantly create your reality. And this is just working with energy and alchemizing it, like I mentioned. There's literally no constraints. In all of this, remember you're working out of resonance with the fifth dimension, which is 529 hertz and pure love. So, all of this, that's where you're working from, a place of pure love and miracles. That's the base frequency. Just understand we've been lied to since birth about Earth and about this reality. Question everything and set the intention to remember why you're here and to remember your true divinity. And just remember that you truly are magical and you're truly an energy alchemist. There's so much more than this experience. outside of this is experiences where you build your eternity that all resonate with pure love and it's total freedom and total bliss. So if things seem crazy on this earth, don't let it get you down. Don't feel depressed. Just step back and think about it. Why am I here? Because remember, you chose to be here for a reason. You are truly magic, you're truly divine. So just start setting the intention to remember why you're here and to remember your true divinity. And hopefully, all of this information will spark your mind or be enlightening to you in some way. And once you start to remember your mission and get aligned with your purpose, I know you will make such a difference to other people. I know we are here at a crazy, amazing time on earth. We are literally shifting ages into a golden age. So keep your head up and spread love and spread compassion. I mentioned that this is a big picture summary of some other episodes, but go listen to the others and you'll get more in depth detail or information. And if you like this, send to friends or family that you think it would help or that they would resonate with it. And subscribe and follow me and listen every week. Thank you. I love you all.